What's up, guys? Welcome back to another daily Bible reading snapshot. Today we're looking at Esther chapter 4, 5, and 6, and we continue the drama that takes place after Haman decides he wants to kill all the Jews. And after he made that plot, Mordecai finds out, and he's obviously really upset, and he goes and tells Esther. And him and Esther have this conversation, and I want to get a little picture of it, because in verse 13, Mordecai told these people to tell Esther this. This is the message from Mordecai to Esther. Do not think to yourself that in the king's palace that you will be able to escape more than any of the other Jews. That kind of sounds threatening, doesn't it? Don't you think that if you are silent right now and you don't do anything about this, that you're going to be killed too? Verse 14 says, "For if you keep silent at this time, relief and deliverance will rise for the Jews from another place." Interesting. He doesn't say that all the Jews will die. He knows that can't happen, right? For all the promises of God, the Jews are not all going to be killed. So he knows that. He's just saying God is going to bring deliverance from someone else, but you probably will end up dying, and I'm definitely going to die if you don't say anything about this. Just interesting, his confidence in God in all of this. It says, relief will come from another place if you don't do anything about it. But you and your father's house will perish, which, remember, for Mordecai, that includes me. And who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this? And I think the whole point of the book is this is why Esther came to the kingdom, because she came to save these people. God is going to use her as a particularly important instrument in his plan to save the Jews. It says in verse 15, "Then Esther told them to reply to Mordecai, 'Go, gather all the Jews to be found in Susa,'" so in this main capital city, "'and hold a fast on my behalf, and do not eat or drink for 3 days, day or night. I and my young women will also fast, as you do. Then I will go to the king, though it is against the law, and if I perish, I perish.'" Here's what she says. I'm willing to die for this, because I'm going to die one way or another. I'm either going to die through being killed because I break the law, or I'm going to die as one of the Jews who's killed, because I know that if we don't do this, all the Jews in our area are going to perish, and God's going to save them some other way. So I'm going to do it. So she commits to do that, and here's how she decides to do it. She says, "Let's throw a party." And I just want you to notice, okay, it's kind of a joke, but that is what she does. She throws a party. There are like multiple banquets. And that's when people look at this book, that's one of the things they mention about it. There are so many banquets. There's the banquet at the beginning. There's another banquet. There's another party. So there's all these parties in this book. That's actually kind of how you anchor and move the narrative along. It's party 1, party 2, party 3. So anyway, Esther says, let's have a party. And what do? They get the king there, they get Haman there, they want him to be there, and Haman, again, has another problem with Mordecai. Mordecai doesn't respect Haman, especially after what he found out happened. So Haman's bragging, and he's saying how great he is, and Mordecai is like, okay, whatever, and he's like, I'm going to kill Mordecai. I want to hang him on my own front lawn. I mean, think about how bad that was. He put up gallows, the big places, the big archway, where people hang other people with ropes. He put that up in his front lawn, okay? So he really hated Mordecai here. So he was going to do that. And it says one night, this is chapter 6, one night the king couldn't sleep. And because he couldn't sleep, he asked for the people, his servants, hey, bring out the book of memorable deeds. Let me find out, what's been going on, catching up on the latest news that's happened. What has happened for me? It's interesting. King Ahasuerus is a little selfish, which I guess that's what you expect from a king of such a big empire. And it says that he learns of the story where Mordecai helped save the king. And he never found out. He said, what did we do to honor this guy, Mordecai? And they're like, well, we didn't do anything for him. And he says, okay, all right, we'll figure something out. So he calls Haman, and he tells Haman, hey, Haman, so what should I do to honor somebody that I want to honor really bad? And Haman thinks, ooh, he's talking about me. He's asking me to pick my own birthday present. Okay, I want this and this and this, and I want honor, and I want to be rode through the city on a special horse, and I want everyone to look at me and praise me. That's what I want. I think that's what you should do for the guy that you want to honor. And he says, great, do that for Mordecai. And Haman's like, are you serious? Mordecai? And because it's the king, he does it. So Haman, a day after making the gallows to try to kill him, he ends up honoring Mordecai. Crazy turn of events here, which again, God is behind all of this. So we're going to find out tomorrow what continues to happen. So it's a dramatic story here in the book of Esther. But one thing you need to know about this whole book, some people criticize the book of Esther because God doesn't reveal his own name here. Okay, the name of God does not show up in this book. Okay, why is that? Well, a lot of people have some guesses for that. And I think one of the best reasons why his name doesn't show up is because it doesn't need to show up, because this book shows God's sovereignty. Okay. This book is not an anti-God book. This book is actually showing how God is orchestrating every last thing, whether it's Haman's plot or Mordecai's honoring or Esther going to the throne or all of these things. And we're going to find out more. We've only done half the book so far, but we're going to see that God is orchestrating all of it. So that's an important thing to remember, that not only in this book, but throughout all history, God is orchestrating everything together. So that's our Old Testament reading. Today we're looking at the middle of Acts chapter 5. It says that after these apostles are used by God to preach and teach, and many people are getting saved, it says that the apostles get more attention again from the high priest and his family. So Annas and Caiaphas and all those people that we've already met before, John and Alexander and all these people in the family, they are going to say, we need to do an attack on these apostles. What do we do? Well, they're not going to kill him or anything, not yet anyway. So they arrest him, arrest these apostles, and then the next day they randomly show up and they're not in jail. Like, how did that happen? Well, it says that an angel of God brought them out, and then they were preaching the next day. So instead of trying to arrest them, they're like, well, we can't arrest them now. We've already arrested them. The people are going to freak out if we try to arrest them by force. So we just need to say, hey, can you guys come with us? Do you want to come to the council, the Sadducees and the high priest and all? Do you want to come to the Sanhedrin and just talk to us? So they agree to do it, and they stand before them and they say, hey, we told you guys not to teach or to preach in this name anymore. Why are you doing this? And they reply, Peter says, we must obey God rather than men. Okay. When it comes to if we're going to obey God or obey other people, if those two are in conflict, we say we obey God, and really at that point we obey God as much as we can. And if that means disobeying other people, then I guess we have to disobey other people if it means we have to obey God in this way. And they have to keep preaching. That was the whole point of their existence from this point on. They're witnesses of Jesus. Jesus actually told these people in particular, you are my witnesses. Share the truth. And it says that Gamaliel, one of the people on the council, a very wise, smart guy, a Jewish rabbi and teacher, actually we find out later that he's the one who trained the Apostle Paul in Judaism before Paul was an apostle, when he was just Saul the Pharisee. It says that Gamaliel says, look, let's think about this, guys. There have been a lot of different uprisings and religious movements that have happened with the Jews, and all of them have basically just died out. So none of them have stayed. And if this movement or this Jesus they're talking about, if it really is just one of those duds, it's going to go away on its own. So we don't need to fight them so hard. But if they're telling the truth, and this is really from God, you cannot stop this. I can't stop this. If this is really from God, we can't stop this. So we actually might be found opposing God if it really is from God. So let's just let it die out if it's going to die out, or let it do its own thing. But we're not going to be so involved. So they say, okay, fine, we'll do that. They take the apostles, they beat them up. They say, you can't speak in this name anymore. So I guess not really following Gamaliel's advice, but they kind of are a little bit more hands-off at this point, a little bit. They will get more hands-on later on. But it says that the apostles, after experiencing all this, they walk out of that place, and instead of being mad and upset and scared and beat up and complaining, it says they rejoice that they were counted worthy to suffer dishonor for the name of Christ. They said, yes, I'm worthy to suffer for Christ. God thought I was worthy enough to suffer like Christ did. That was their perspective on these people oppressing them. That was their perspective. That is just such a godly perspective that doesn't happen naturally. That needs to happen in Christians' hearts. That needs to happen in our hearts when we're persecuted, when we are opposed for standing with Christ. Instead of being mad and bitter and upset and wanting to fight everybody, what we need to do is be like these apostles and say, I'm happy that God has deemed me worthy to suffer for Christ. That's an honor for me. So that's the perspective we need to have when we're opposed, not a fighting mentality spirit. So that's a lot different, and that's something we need to keep in mind as we continue to try to serve Christ and also share truth about him in our world today. So we'll see you back tomorrow for another daily Bible reading snapshot.